Welcome to this conversation with Dr. Milton Mutto, presidential aspirant for the Republic of Uganda 2026. Doctor, thanks for allowing to do this interview. Dr. Mutto, you are a global health leader, but not many Ugandans have heard of you and your work, especially in the political circles. Who would you describe yourself to be?
Well, many people have not perhaps heard about me because for many people the definition of politics is so limited. They look at parliament, they look at the presidency, but politics is much broader than that. If you're a taxpayer, you're practicing policy. In a democracy, if you're a business person, you contribute to taxes, so you're part of politics. NGO work, that's part of politics. However, I have been around in the political field for quite some time. I've been involved in civic education, training of local leaders, mentoring them, and some of our products have been in parliament, including people like Mapinduzi. We mentored him when he was a local government leader, and he entered parliament. And so I'm not new to this political scene, except that I've been doing it in a different area. And yeah, so I have been part of the story, the political story of this country for over 20 years, except that I'm now taking a different step.
And what is your association with the Citizens Accord?
Well, Citizens Accord, I'm a co-founder of the Citizens Accord movement. And of course, we are in the process of formalizing it as a registered political party. And the process is ongoing. It has taken a bit of long, but we are willing to pay the price and go the full length until it's registered. However, we are navigating the political space now to make sure that we are relevant to the political seasons we are in. And that's why this independent candidature is coming. Yeah, we are not completely cutting ourselves from our history, because it is part of what is informing what we're going to do in the next 5 years.
What happened in your life or your career that made you think, I need to stand for president? Was there a turning point for you?
Well, I've been around in the turbulent times of our country. I grew up as an orphan and in the turbulent times of our country. My father was a school teacher, a primary school teacher, and those days when the teachers were very honorable, and so I'm product of that glorious history of our country. But in 1980, he succumbed to premature death because of the bad healthcare system, which pushed us to the edge. I saw my neighbor being killed, my own mother being beaten, and so on. And these things shaped my appreciation of what difficult and bad politics can bring and the consequences that it can have on people. When I finished my training as a physiotherapist, I coordinated a project that dealt with the emergency response to landmines in Gulu, in Acholi land. And this is where, for me, the turning point happened. I saw life so greatly discounted. People butchered, people headed into camps, and life basically lost meaning. And I spent over 10 years in the war zone, and I began to ask serious questions about life. Why are we like this? Why must we live life in the squalid conditions that were imposed on us? Why should we die early? Why should we go without education? Why should we lack jobs? Why are we poor when we are rich underneath? Our land is rich with resources, but we are poor. Why? How come our education system does not give us a competitive advantage? Why are hospitals now death traps? Why don't we have local banks? All of these things started storming me, and I went on a search. I drove through the entire country, learning and understanding our people. I've been to the entire country studying for the last 10 years, and I think I have understood the problems of our country. Our people are hurting, deeply hurting.
So President Museveni has been here for 40 years. Is there anything you admire about his leadership?
Well, I cannot talk about President Museveni in isolation because Uganda did not begin with the President Museveni. Museveni is just one of the leaders that came along the way. But the foundations were set by Kabaka, the first president of Uganda, and then followed by Apollo Milton Obote, then Idi Amin. Something unique about each of them. Kabaka set the foundation for this country. And Obote came with the common man's charter. That was his pulse, the spark of his leadership. Idi Amin, one thing that identifies him is indigenizing the economy, wanting to give the wealth of the country back to the people. Now Museveni comes many years later. He has a concern about freedom of his people. If there's anything that stands about his leadership, is the liberation of his people. And the character of his leadership, what he did, and his contribution, I believe, has to be judged in that light. He risked his life for the freedom of his people. And in that sense, he's laudable. So when we look at each of these leaders, they had their strong points. They came with a mission. Whether they are finishing well is another conversation. But focusing on their strengths, I think we Ugandans have reason to thank them for what they have done.
Is there a lesson to carry from Obote to Amin and all these other presidents we've had until
I
today?
think there are major lessons to carry forward. Number one, that these are precious people with a call before God, that this commonwealth is not just an invention of people. It has a transcendent destiny that goes beyond these individual leaders. And so, if you put together the foundations of our country, if we put it together with the concern for the common man, the indigenizing of the economy, and so on, you can see a thread that I think my generation will need to carry forward, that there is something precious about the people of Uganda that needs to be handled with a befitting seriousness and responsibility. Of course, there are negative things of the past. Those ones we don't have to carry forward. Those people, they had their shortfalls. We don't dwell on them, but we don't have to carry them forward. We filter the good foundations and run with them to shape the destiny that we want to be a part of.
Is there a thing or two you can point at that this government has gotten right?
A thing or two. I think the restoration of the country to a democratic path is a good thing. A good thing. Whether they have released it to fully function as a respectable democracy is another thing. But I think over the years, there is an attempt to make democracy a mindset that is going through everybody's heart and resonates as the software that we should embrace on. And secondly, the whole issue of stability, that you cannot do much without stability in the land. With stability in the land, there is so much that you can achieve. And I think that as a generation, they've done their part. And really, they are signing out their law on energy, and it's time up for many of them. And so we are being challenged to stand and carry on as children, sons and daughters of the land, to see where we are going to take it next. I think this is where we connect with them, and we look forward to a peaceful connection and to carry on the light forward.
So when you look at this country today, where are we? After these 40 years, you're talking about stability.
Yes.
After these 40 years, are we, because we're such a young country with a young population, are we progressing or we're just there surviving?
Okay, the young population is relative and it's not actually new at all. Because if you look at Uganda's age pyramid, it has always been a triangle. It has never changed. So this triangle has been there in 1900, in 1960s, 1970s.
Yeah, but I think for the first time,
For the
having
first time.
50% population under the age of 18, I think that's new.
It is not new. You see, when you talk about a pyramid means that it is the 50% is below. You understand? So if you go to the government statistics, look for the pyramid. So a triangle tells you that it has always been like that. But what is happening today is that there is a certain hype to try to mobilize the young people to make sure their voices count, which has its positive and it has its negative too. There may be an attempt to actually dismantle the family structure, which I am personally against. Because the African setup, we have a father, we have a mother, we have children, we have young people, we have youth, we have all these all living together. And if we want to go for the majority, they are actually not young people, they are children. The majority are babies. They are at the bottom. So if we have to go with the argument of the majority, the babies. But for us, I think there's some beautiful thing about the African family, that we live together and we grow together in times of difficulty, in times of plenty. And I think this is the unique contribution that we bring from Africa to the world. That on that model, we stand to be a leader, a market leader globally. The West has blown up their societies. They do not live together anymore. And when people become old, they are taken to old people's homes. That's not the case here. And I've seen some Westerners running away from their countries in Europe and America, coming here because they want to enjoy this model. And so what we need to do is to unlock the opportunities that the young people need, that they can prosper, they can survive, they can thrive. That is the heart of the issue. The radical approach is built on a philosophy of replacing. That this age band comes and wants to push that one off. This one wants to come and push that one off. But this is a recipe for disaster, because then it sets into motion a network and a circle of anarchy that keeps coming in certain circles. 40 years, you're back into contention. The 40 years contention, generational contention, that we should all stand against. Why? Because we're family in this country.
It's interesting that you look at it as a generational contest every after 40 years. One of the things that has held us back as a country is corruption. How do you intend to deal with it as a leader?
Corruption is very endemic, but it's easy to deal because it's about decisions. You don't need years to take a decision not to steal, or a decision to order your team to crack on theft and graft. And so much as people want to create ministries or departments, strategic plans to deal with the corruption, it's a behavior. And like all other behaviors, my other background is in public health. I'm an epidemiologist. And we managed to tame a vicious problem like COVID-19 using behaviors. And so where there is a commitment to deal with corruption, it's going to be dealt with decisively. And I think this is what we bring on the table, that we have suffered the pain of corruption. We are victims of the vicious theft of money in this country. Look, for example, this country, our foreign debt is now 116 trillion. 116 trillion. But you travel across the country and you look for the footprint of this money. The whole of West Nile, you'll be hard pressed to find one befitting investment that's worth this amount. Cross to Acholi land, the same story. Going to Karamoja, same story. Going to Teso, same story. Go down to Bukedi, the same story. Elgonia, the same story. Busoga, the same story. And perhaps go to Bunyoro, same story. Bundibujo, the same story. And go to the bulk of southwestern Uganda, the same story. Where is this money? Now URA is sent to collect taxes from you to pay this debt. It is the greatest amount of injustice and unfairness. And so for every right-minded individual, this thing must end like yesterday. We cannot spend an extra day with it in our backyard. And that's why it's going to be one of the quick fixes. Good enough, it doesn't need a lot of sophistication. Recovering stolen resources is a different story, but blocking the hemorrhage, it's something that can happen instantly. And so I look forward to the fight against corruption. And in fact, we can post our intention that the day we step in office, corruption can as well park and belong to the antiquities of history.
Well, you said you've traveled across the entire country and
Yes.
you've seen how people are hurting. Uganda is deeply divided,
Yeah.
regionally, economically. Uganda seems to be drifting apart silently. How do you intend to deal with that?
Absolutely.
There's been calls of reconciliation, there's been calls of dialogue.
Yeah, well, I've championed reconciliation. In April, I put together a meeting that brought 7,000 people, 1/4 of the country, to reconcile. I believe in reconciliation. I believe we have a conjoined destiny. The indigenous people groups of our country, we have a conjoined destiny. We are meant to succeed together. And each group comes to the table on the platform of strength. There's no useless person. Everybody needs to be part of the conversation. The challenge with some people is that the mindset that's required for dialogue and reconciliation is what is not palatable for them. You need to take a humble pie and be able to say, I'm sorry for the mistake I've done. Without the capacity to say, I'm sorry, it's impossible to get into dialogue. But we as a generation who have suffered the brunt of the problem, I think we have an incentive to reconcile and put this country together. I told you about the past presidents, and perhaps that is the undone, that is the work that they are leaving to us. You see, they've stabilized the country, they've brought some major changes, but this issue of reconciling the country needs to be addressed. And I don't think that it's going to take us long. Why? Because the grounds on conflict are known. And some of it actually caused by us, the academics. For example, we have produced statistics that are not really correct, that show that Karamoja is the poorest region of Uganda. But in the same books, we write that the soils of Karamoja are the richest, some of the richest. They have gold, they have uranium, they have marble, hmm? they have lime. So if you're saying that the soils are very rich, how do you turn around now to say the owners of the soil are poor? You see. So these mind games that people in authority play over the people, we have no incentive to continue doing that. Let's just settle down and enjoy this country together. We have enough to go around. We can build this country to be the place that is the desire of the entire world. Yeah, so this is what we offer our people in the new dispensation.
If you were elected president today, what would you do in the first 100 days
In the first 100
that would
days,
signal that this is a real change, the actual change that
in the
Ugandans have been
first
waiting for?
100 days, for sure, we need to do uh, uh, the short-term things that should bring out the quick fixes, that should bring relief to the people. The medical services must improve immediately. The education services must improve immediately. Corruption must be clamped down. The points of hemorrhage must be stopped. And the government must be restructured immediately to stop wasteful expenditure, among other things. And so, if you look at the social sector, we need to pump money into the social sector. We need to restore hope in the people. We need to restore the trust of the people in their government. And these things of intimidation, denigrating of life will end immediately, so that our people are now in the right state of mind to focus on the sustainable issues of nation building that will now address the foundational issues that keep bringing us back to the path of war. The foundations of the country, the geopolitical arrangement, productivity that need to be sorted. Yeah, so the short-term things and then the medium and long-term things will clearly be itemized. And so we don't want to just concentrate on the short-term things because they do not sustainably lead to the desired development and change that we want to see. Yes, they bring quick relief, but we need to deal with the taproot of bitterness, anger, hate, marginalization, corruption, oppression, impunity. And those ones are more grievous. And I'm afraid they will take a little longer than these quick fixes that we need to concentrate on.
Let's talk about the economy.
Yes.
What sort of economy do you envision by 2030?
But
And what would it take if you were a president to build it?
I think I envisage an economy that is buoyant, prosperous, built on our indigenous God-given strengths. I said somewhere that I believe in life, and life is of God. Now, God, for every life, God has given provision, and that provision is within our vicinity. We have the minerals, that's our beginning point, and the so-called intangible. We have geopolitical location, we have the forests, we have the water bodies. We are stinking rich. We need to indigenize the economy to allow the people to unlock this economic potential that is inherently here. The economic bubble that we see across Africa, where we excel in getting foreigners to build the economy, it's like a bubble. They cannot care about your economic welfare more than your own people care about the economic welfare. And so we must unlock the indigenous potential. We will invest in strategic regional economic advantages, knowing that our greatest potential is in our land. The agricultural potential has basically no limits. Agriculture has capacity to employ all of Ugandans, all the Ugandans, all the Ugandans. But our limited investment in agriculture causes our people now to go into a situation of artificial unemployment or underemployment. But we have our land. Lake Victoria alone has an unlimited potential to employ people in fishing, in sports, in tourism, and other activities. Lake Victoria alone. How about Lake Choga, Lake Albert, and other lakes? And so we will be able to get rid of this unemployment and turn our resources into things that will give us competitive edge internationally. And finally, we believe in our people. That people are our greatest resource. Our young people are just teeming with potential. See, they want to make cars. The iron ore for making cars can be found here. All we need to do is to build a furnace to turn this iron ore into steel and turn cars.
Right. Do you believe Uganda is ready for a peaceful transition? And what's your role here?
I believe Uganda is ready for a peaceful transition. Number one, the Constitution says so. A Constitution does not provide for any other means for rebel activities and so on. The Constitution provides for peaceful transitional power. And the process in reality can be contested, but we stand to be counted and say, let us stick to the letter, that there can be peaceful transition and there must be peaceful transition. And that's why I appeal to the people. Let us go for peaceful transition and let democracy work for us. The good thing about democracy is democracy puts the spotlight on you, the listeners. And it is built on the philosophy that you are important, that decisions concerning you cannot just be taken by any other person without your consent. That's the heart of the issue. And so democracy gives you a right to choose and appoint the one that takes decisions on your behalf. And so this is what our constitution provides, and I believe in it, and I want to rally all Ugandans. Let us go and exercise that right. Some people are perhaps living in history. They think that the voices of the individuals don't count, that your vote doesn't count, that it must not count. I think they are living on the wrong side of history, because we Ugandans, we are very, very awake. Very, very awake. Very, very awake. We will not allow somebody to discount our votes because we belong. It's our commonwealth.
You've traveled across the world. You've worked outside Uganda.
Yes.
What's that one thing through your exposure you have seen out there that you think Uganda desperately needs?
I think I've looked at Western Europe, the models of democracy in Western Europe. I've looked at the models of democracy in the Scandinavian. I find a very interesting model there and practice there. They are deliberate in minimizing the gap between the rich and the poor, the haves and have-nots. And they set the bar high because they celebrate life. So whether I am professor of medicine and then another person is a peasant, they make sure the waiting time when you come to the hospital is very small, 15 minutes. So first come, first serve. The economy is built like that. So welfare for everybody. In countries like Norway, as soon as a child is born, that child is guaranteed with a huge amount of money, close to $1 million. This is what you're beginning with. This is what you're coming into. How do they manage to do that? They maximize their oil. They use it for the future. But we perhaps have more oil. We have uranium. We have gold. So this is our promise to our people, that when we get people with the right mindset, it is possible to turn this country into a place where everybody wins, everybody thrives, and every place is great. And I look forward to that day when we can actually live like that. You take a high-speed train from Kampala and you go for an evening out in Karamoja. It takes only 1 hour, much shorter than the trip to Entebbe when the road is jammed. So you can leave Kampala and go to Karamoja and come back before the one who went to the airport returns to the city. It's possible. And so this lack of integrated and proper planning is setting us up to fail.
Right.
Yes.
You are competing for power.
Yes.
Those who have held power before have found it difficult to let go of it.
Yes.
What is the guarantee that you won't be like them?
Well, number one, I am different, and my philosophy cannot allow me to denigrate life. The people who've hung on to power, look at the means they have used. Perhaps in their trail is tears, blood, graves, corruption, nepotism, the very things that destroy life. I am different.
If
I
you're
celebrate life. I work to make life worth living because it's a gift of God. So we differ from them philosophically, ideologically, and the values that underpin our very coexistence. This is what we are putting to Ugandans, so they choose for themselves. So 50 years of our country, this has not happened. That's why we are here. But we also have an opportunity to evaluate, do we want to continue with that kind of software or mindset? Absolutely not. That's why we are rallying a new movement of people who will put an end to that and speak compassionately to our people and our nation that we are closing that chapter, that despicable chapter of me, myself, I. It shouldn't be like that. This country doesn't belong to an individual.
right. If you weren't running for president, where would you be serving your country, happily?
I've done a lot of things in my life. I worked in a hospital. I worked in Rubaga Hospital and in Entebbe Grade A and Grade B hospitals. But what propelled me to leave the hospital was because of marginalized children. Children who have cerebral paralysis. They already have a lifelong condition, and then we bring them to the hospital to catch other people's germs. You know, the hospital is a collection of germs. So I decided to leave the hospital to take the hospital out to the community. Now it is while I was in the community that I got to appreciate the pains of the people. And I thought that I could no longer stay in the comfort of the hospital where we have titles, we put on clinical codes, we are respected, we feel honored. I decided to give my vote to the marginalized, the poor, the ignored, that at least they should smile at the end of the day. And so this is a mission that I cannot go back on. And hopefully we will finish this and I will happily retire to do research. I'm a research scientist. I have a number of publications in that regard. I love research, but there's a duty call at hand. So let's sort the matter. And then when everything is great, I will gladly do research and offer solutions that can inform policy.
You already know the ones you're competing with. You're competing with people who command power, who command state machinery.
Yes.
What makes you think that you stand a chance?
What makes me think that I stand a chance? I am not talking to those who command state machinery. I'm talking to the people. I belong to the people. And so they can keep the state machinery, but I have the people. I am of the people. I belong to them. So I don't necessarily belong to the high and lofty ranks and titles. If I need them, I know where to get them. But I belong to the people. I connect to the people. I have worked in the communities for long. I have worked with faith-based organizations for long. I have been part of the UN system. I was a board member for WHO for 6 years. eh. So if I'm looking for that level of honor, I know where to find it. But this is the people's fight. The people's fight. And so, where there is the will, there is always the way. And I'm convinced together we are going to be unstoppable. Why? Because it's time for the people's voice to sound.
Why I'm asking that, I'm curious to find out, what your friends, your family thought about you running for president, knowing the reality on ground. You've observed elections in this country, seen how the climax looks like. So, what did they say when you told them you were running for president?
Of course, my family cares about me, my friends care about me, my mentors care about me. But when there's a duty call, it's irresistible. And number two, very many Ugandans are afraid. And they are not afraid for the wrong reason. If you follow the social media, especially today, there are even people who boast of killing. Does that represent you? Are you that cruel? Absolutely not. 99%+ of Ugandans are not murderers. They are not killers. Their eyes do not rejoice when they see blood and misery. That is the side I belong to. And number two, we have also seen abuse of the security forces. And so it is sending a wrong signal to the Ugandans, as if the security forces enjoy killing people, beating people, ramming people. But we need to look at these security forces differently. These are our brothers, they are our sisters, they come from families, they have mothers, they have fathers who never taught them to kill. They never permitted them to join the forces to go and shed blood, to beat people. And so many of them are torn, struggling what they are ordered to do and what their mother taught them. I think parents are going to have a conversation with their children. And so let us all rise up and uphold sound values that celebrate life, because it's going to be a win-win for everybody. Yeah.
Dr. Milton Mutto, many thanks for sharing your insights.
Thank you very, very much for your time.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.